This is the Check for Traps podcast, seeking the pro bono services of an assisted suicide squad. Please leave your contact information in the comments below.
Okay, right, so I am going to take this one really slowly.
That's fair. Take your time.
I don't really know what just happened. We just watched the 2-hour-long film Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I think this might be the first joint, Check for Traps and Vex Files episode.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like I might have vexed you.
Yeah, because this movie came out in a time where, as previously established, I was just not really paying attention to anything. And apparently everyone in the world went to see it. And yet again, I just didn't.
To confirm, it is currently about 10 o'clock in the evening, December 2018. An unspecified day and location. A bunker somewhere under Manhattan.
The state just threw a fucking hood over my head and said, we're doing Suicide Squad.
And so here we are. I can confirm subject is very agitated. Has tried multiple times to stab me. He's now in a Hannibal Lecter-esque contraption.
Unlike, the incredibly volatile characters in this movie, Aaron has taken the good grace to actually fucking handcuff me to stop me from killing him. Because in Suicide Squad, when they're handling supposedly the most dangerous people on the planet, despite the fact that they just act like unruly teenagers, they don't really restrain them at all. There is even a scene in this where they give guns to Deadshot, and then even he expresses massive surprise when they have bullets in them.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. You say they're the most dangerous people on the planet, but the problem is we see way more dangerous people all the time. The express aim, as is said at the beginning of the film, is find a squad that could take down Superman.
Yeah.
And this squad expressly cannot do that.
No, because they're not the Justice League.
Yeah.
They have guns, a bat,
a boomerang,
a katana, which harvests the souls of the people who it cuts. They have fire, eventually.
And a crocodile.
Well,
no, not even. A man with a skin condition.
Yeah, who swims.
Who swims really well. I didn't remember him swimming that well. So just to contextualise, it has been... the 4 years since this film came out?
Yeah.
It must have been that. You've never seen this.
No.
And
I remember
you've
the trailer.
not seen any of the DC... You've seen Man of Steel, have you? Or not even?
No, I haven't even seen Man of Steel.
This is the first DC Universe film you've seen?
Yeah, and the reason I haven't seen any up until this point is because everyone, every year, has walked out of whichever one is current and said, don't go and see that movie, it sucks, except for Wonder Woman, which...
Yeah. We'll save that debate for
another fair enough. Yeah, we'll do that one later.
You got Superman, who's obviously referred to quite a lot, because the whole plot is supposedly motivated by the search for a new Superman.
Yeah.
Because Superman's dead, and because the next Superman might not be a good guy, they've got to recruit all the bad guys, including the child murderers, to save the day.
That's right, and I mean, it's difficult to call it a framing device, but the weird montage scene that comes after a previous montage scene right at the beginning of this film where Viola Davis is explaining her plan to, the topmost government officials.
David Harbour,
that's right, from Stranger Things, and a guy who looked a bit like Al Bundy. Yeah, I mean, considering that they are portraying her character as someone who is at the top of her game and really knows what she's doing and she's a force to be reckoned with to the point where actually she's a bit evil herself, it was like she was making it up as she went along and reading parts of it off the back of DVD covers.
At no point did I feel that any character that was agreeing with her understood her plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she demonstrated one of them directly. It begged the question why she didn't demonstrate more of them. She demonstrated Cara Delevingne's character, the evil witch demon, who became possessed by going into a cave and ripping the head off a small doll for no reason at all.
She's a trained archaeologist.
Yeah.
She's in the comics. Her name's Dr. June Moon. June Moon. All names should rhyme. Yeah, she's one of the best archaeologists in the world, because obviously no one in a comic book or a film is anything other than the best in their field.
Yeah.
And she
even when that field is boomerang throwing,
she finds an artifact, she immediately rips the head off, and then she's possessed by this strange golem-esque creature called Enchantress.
Yeah, she deserved everything she got, and then she runs to Iran and comes back with
top secret Iranian
nuclear plans,
Farsi documents.
To which they respond, "We've been looking for these for years," and then they sign off on the entire operation on the fact that she disappeared in a plume of smoke and then came back with a book.
Incredible, absolutely. So
yeah,
I think so. The team, let's go through your favorite character in that film,
Oh yeah, definitely. My favourite character in the movie was the only one who... They sort of developed Deadshot. I mean, it was a failed development. It was, like a evil test tube baby, but nonetheless, he was kind of developed. But
knowing that film's like production history, I imagine he was the main character at one point.
Yeah.
I imagine you probably saw like the first events of his life, and then he probably got caught by Batman, and then you probably entered Belle Reef Prison.
And that would have made sense because they introduced him twice. But yeah, no, I love the Australian guy just because he had personality.
Jay Courtney is Captain Boomerang. Captain Boomerang, by the way, an ardent enemy of the Flash, probably one of the up there with like Captain Cold.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Wow.
seriously, one of the bigger Flash villains.
Almost no mention of that other than the fact that he gets caught by him.
Yeah, and again, he's not like an established Flash villain. Like, at that point, it's kind of like just implied that the Flash was in the neighborhood.
He was just there. Yeah. He wasn't like, oh, it's you, Flash.
Yeah.
Crikey, Flash.
I can't really. So Captain Boomerang, he's a man. He throws boomerangs.
Yep.
In this film, he throws 3 boomerangs, I believe.
Yep.
He throws a
I
boomerang.
remember 2, but that's probably 3.
Yeah, he throws his initial boomerang in like his introduction scene.
Oh,
he
yes.
throws a boomerang at the Aztec Guard.
Yeah.
At the very end, and then before that, he throws a reconnaissance boomerang.
A spy boomerang.
Which moves completely detached from anything at the trajectory of the boomerang.
It looks like a slow-moving drone, but
Yeah.
what you saw him throw was a boomerang. I would, if I had something that ridiculous in a movie I was making, I would have played it entirely for laughs, but it was in a scene that took itself completely seriously.
I mean, I would have had someone, maybe Harley Quinn in that dumb Brooklyn voice, being like, "How does that work, Puddin'?"
Seems kind of dumb, man.
What the fuck's going on?
Am I in a shitty movie?
So yeah, obviously, and it's sad that the best character in this isn't any of the people who they spend the first hour and 10 minutes developing.
Yeah. What was interesting as well about the development in this movie, so we haven't even talked about how fucking ADHD and weird this. I can't think of any analogue for a movie that is poorly edited as this.
There's no real comparison in terms of structure. I've spent quite, as you can imagine, I've had 4 years to like mull on this. I've not actually come up with a film that in any way remotely the same structure.
Like it reminded me a bit, and I only say a bit, of that really terrible Tony Scott movie Domino, but just in how ugly it was.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, it's just like Keira Knightley is like a private schoolgirl who becomes like a bounty hunter, and there's just lots of like splattershot narration and cuts to stupid flashbacks of dumb things happening.
Sorry, when's this set?
Like 2002.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a market for bounty hunters? What, is she like Dog the Bounty Hunter?
She's a bit like more hardcore than that. She has a shotgun and doesn't praise Jesus, but maybe that would have been a good movie too. But yeah, just stylistically hideous.
I mean, like, I think there's a lot. I mean, I think our review will probably be as unstructured as Suicide Squad, which is only fitting.
Yeah.
But I feel like, so if we're going stylistically, I remember one point where we particularly broke regarding the style was the halfway point, just as things start to really heat up. They get taken into sort of like this almost like transitory Iraq War, like mission accomplished camp.
Yeah.
In the outskirts of Midway City, where they're given all of their iconic gear, including like Deadshot's visor and Harley Quinn's hot pants.
One of them was in a burlap sack that they threw out of a van, and then they unzip it, and inside he wasn't handcuffed, so he immediately gets out and successfully attacks someone.
That happens twice.
And it happens again.
Out of a car.
Pull the guy out of a car and he punches a woman, and it's like, well, now we know what kind of man you are.
I wish they'd all been transported in burlap sacks.
Yeah.
I think it's such a... Because again, like, I laughed at that, and for the right reasons, because it is really funny to just pull a like drunk Australian man out of a sack.
No, it's hysterical. And one of his things as well in his box was beer. That was good.
It was he had a little beer can and his unicorn, obviously.
If we're on a roll with the most just like weird and abrupt things, I also enjoyed. So after the weird scene that you told me was added in after the fact, where the Joker tried to pimp out Harley Quinn, we then just cut to them just sort of like joyriding around in a car, which Batman then attacked, and it was not clear where they were going in that car.
Why now?
Why Batman had came on them now? Like, had he not been able to find them for a while, and then just saw the purple Lamborghini?
Because the Joker's quite well established at this point, and Batman's been like in you know this in the DC universe. It's been implied that Batman's been doing this for like 20 years or something. He's quite an old Batman, obviously, and he's supposed to have started quite young.
Yeah.
And the Joker's been around for long enough, so I guess either he never had a chance to. Or was he just like driving by on the street? Because I got the feeling with that in Deadshot, like he just happened to be maybe he was doing some shopping as well.
Yeah, maybe
he saw Deadshot.
He was like, man, that guy looks like a pimp from the 70s. Holy shit! And then Batman dropped his Macy's bags and was like, oh, I've got to come back.
What he did is he like held up his dialer decks of like villains, and he's like, wait a second.
He's flipping really quickly through a Rolodex.
Is that Detective Spooner? No. Is that Jim West? No. Oh god, that's Deadshot.
Jesus Christ. All the Will Smith roles. It's like, oh shit, he's in this movie. Yeah, I mean, he swoops down on him comically slowly in an alley. It's like you can see the cable.
Yeah,
almost,
like he's actually being lowered, but like by a guy who's quite struggling with it.
Yeah, and who's also really, really precious about not hurting Ben Affleck. So he is lowered gently to the ground, and then Deadshot's child stands in front of him and is like, don't shoot the Batman, for no reason, and then...
Which could have been interesting. She could have been like, Batman's a good guy, don't kill him, and he'd be like, oh shit, I'm a bad guy.
Yeah.
And that could have warranted a surrender, but it's not even as deep as that.
No, it's not. Because the thing is she's standing in front of him as though that means he can't shoot because he'd have to shoot his daughter. But then he says okay and waves her to the side, and
also,
then
he can shoot over Batman.
Yeah.
And we know like his thing is we've in the scene before we see him do a trick shot.
I think he can shoot past his little girl.
We can see he could fucking deflect bullets off a wall.
Yeah, and then fat Batman Ben Affleck, who presumably can barely even move from his posture in the scene, just pulls some handcuffs from behind his back and opens them, and then, he's being arrested.
Yeah, then
it was the least Batman thing I'd ever seen.
The actual police arrive. Yeah, considering Batman's deployed like very sparingly in this film, it's at some really weird moments. He has 3 appearances. I actually mistakenly believed he only had 2, but he has the aforementioned scene where he arrests Deadshot. He has the scene where he punches Harley Quinn in the face after the Cadillac chase.
That's right.
And then there's a final scene where Deadshot envisages shooting him in the head, and he's just lying down smiling on the floor.
Oh yes, this was
which is why I'd forgotten about it, because it was completely ridiculous.
Yeah, the scene in which Cara Delevingne, God-Woman, gives them all visions of what they all really want.
Well, what 3 of them?
What 3
Again,
of them
gets bored when it gets to doing any more than 3 characters.
Yeah, it's like they've never signed up for having as many characters they actually had on screen, so they weren't willing to introduce them all at the same time, do their backstories at the same time, even show all of their desires at the point where it was supposed to be temptation, despite the fact that she could not give them what they wanted.
Nope.
So it was a pointless pit stop. In the 4th act, I guess, that happened right after another pointless pit stop where they all walked into a bar.
Which I quite liked as a scene.
Right, I would have liked the idea of it in a better movie, but the fact that Mr. Pyro, Mexican man...
He's got the easiest name. He's called Diablo. He's a Mexican fireman.
Diablo 2. Okay, so Diablo 2 is trying to make Deadshot think about how... He's
talking about hope. He's like, I've given up.
He's trying to bring them up again and, try and get them back in the game to see if they can go out and, win whatever the plot really is, even though that's not very clear. And then he starts telling a story about his past and seems to forget that he's trying to lift them all up, because this story entails how, in presumably a rage, he killed his wife and children. And then after he finishes the story, he just stops talking.
After he finishes the story, Jay Courtney, who I guess wasn't listening, was like, what happened to the kids?
Yeah.
And he's...
Are you serious? I said that I killed women and children.
Exactly. And then Harley Quinn's like, he killed them, you donut.
Yeah.
It
was representative of the attention span that all of this film had structurally. They set up, okay, listen, I'm going to cheer you up and then we're going to lead into the final battle. And then within 5 minutes, they'd forgotten what they'd started talking about.
Yeah, and again, I think it's really demonstrated by something that really annoyed me, because I'm a sucker for a couple of tropes, and one of my favourite tropes is like a man abandons team and comes back to save the day.
Yep.
I think that works. It's so cheap and it works so well, and I'm willing to forgive it most of the time.
Yeah.
And
Han Solo.
Yeah, exactly.
Classic.
It works. It just it's you have your scoundrel characters, and this film's full of them, and especially probably the stand-up scoundrel character was Captain Boomerang, and when Rick Flag, who Josh failed to recognise for most of the film.
Several points in this film. So his motivation, the motivation of which all the characters was very difficult to pin down, was that he was in kind of like a weird relationship with Cara Delevingne's character. They established this, and then I forgot it on 3 occasions throughout the film until the movie reminded me that's why he was invested. Up to the point where at the end, when he had a chance to kill her, and he had reservations about it, I was like, why? And Aaron had to remind me that's his girlfriend.
Rick Flag is feeling a bit defeated because they've all just read his top secret file about how much he loves.
It said top secret on the spine, just to be sure.
Everything says top secret in this film. So they've just read that, and he gives up, and he's like, "Oh, you're all free to go. I don't care anymore." And the only character who acts upon this is Captain Boomerang, who immediately grabs not only his tinny, but a second tinny, and dashes out the bar.
Understandable.
And they all like look after. They look away for a second, and they will just turn back, and then they all agree that they might as well go fight the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, none of them really have a reason to. Deadshot's already walking out the bar at this point because he was so depressed by the child killing story. Harley Quinn says, I ain't got nothing else on, in that dumb way that she does.
Because the Joker fell out of a helicopter.
And then
oh no,
Katana is going to obviously do it anyway.
Yeah.
King Croc, or whatever, Killer Croc has just been sitting in like a booth away from the rest of the crowd and nods, and Diablo just goes along. So it's, so for like sort of like the teams at their low point rally round, one member of the team decides that they will, one runs away, one gives up, and two come along because that one person decided they'll come along. So it's like a really rousing moment for the team. But then, so frustratingly, the next scene they're all walking in formation, including Deadshot, which I just realised isn't sort of I guess he just comes along as well.
Doesn't really make any sense.
And then from left field, and I remember this so vividly from the cinema that I was able to point it out before it happened, Captain Boomerang just walks straight back on, gives Harley Quinn a little nod.
Yep.
And we're good to go.
Drinks a bit of his beer, I think. You called it. You were just like, he's coming in from stage left. And I was like, what? And then he just walked on screen. And, I mean, he was gone for such a short period that...
He could only have been waiting outside.
He
could it's literally the next scene he comes back in. And I can only imagine there was, like, again, like, probably quite a nice moment. Like, how I'm picturing it is, we know in the original script there was, like, a Steppenwolf or a Darkseid fight. I imagine, like, one of them, you know, Deadshot's about to have his fucking face smashed in. A boomerang of all things, like, explosive boomerang hits the fist. Buys him just enough time to get away.
That's
and he's like, good day, mates.
Yeah.
It fucking writes itself.
And shotguns a beer.
Yeah.
And then Deadshot goes, fucking hooroo, mate, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Having rejected his Australian culture the whole way through the movie, now he accepts it.
And then they do the hacker, or is that New Zealand? I can't remember.
Who gives a fuck? They're ridiculous places. I mean, I have to take a moment here to say that we may not be elucidating very clearly about the plot of this film, but that's because it was just so unclear what was happening at all times.
I mean, when you take out flashbacks and introductions and pointless rescue scenes, which resulting in like loops back round, like the plot basically goes: Amanda Waller recruits 8 individuals from prison. They go to a city, they rescue Amanda Waller, they kill the bad guy. Those are the 4 main beats of this film. And those 4 beats of the film take up probably about 40 minutes. But everything else, the backstories of these characters, the fight scenes, which I guess you could include in the town. If you do that, it probably comes up to about an hour. But again, not really.
And jukebox hits. Just montages to fucking classic songs.
We'll get to the songs.
Yeah, good.
when you cut away everything, there's just not really a plot. There's such a small plot, such a concise plot. And again, that can work. Like, they don't have to be. Like, you know, some of the best films are sort of like just gotta get from A to B, and just the challenges involved in that.
But you're right. As soon as you cut all of the shit away and draw a line, it's so slight. It's amazing. It's so hard to follow.
Yeah, it goes from. Yeah, what does it go from? Prison to Midway extraction point to Midway City itself. A brisk walk down the road to the building Amanda Waller's in. Up to the top of Amanda Waller's building.
Plot twist, it's Amanda Waller.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
Helicopter away.
Yeah.
Helicopter crash. Walk down the street, meet Harley Quinn. Go to the pub. Go out the pub.
Yep.
Walk down the station. Go to the tube station. Kill the bad guy. Go home. Back to prison.
This movie made me want to drink.
There's like at most 4 actual places. Most of the place is just one street. The helicopter blows up and they land in the street. They have to walk down the street to get to the building.
Find the top secret file on the street.
Yeah, exactly. And then like from that building, you see in one of the establishing shots, the giant space portal is just further down that street.
Yeah.
So they just keep walking, and they don't really meet any resistance as they're walking down. Majority of the distance they cover is really easy. Like, they just walk there.
I mean, at some point they meet like the cannon fodder monsters, and it was notable that when they were fighting them, considering these are supposed to be the only people who could possibly accomplish this task, they were not taking formations. They weren't making plans. They were just shooting and hitting with their bats and standing in huddles while they were getting fucking fired upon.
It reminded me a bit like that scene.
Never getting hit.
Well enough, it reminded me of that scene in 300 where they all break formation and start just fighting as hordes come past.
Yeah.
I think maybe this is the libertarian ideology of these films getting into it. You know, they're not going to be a unit. They don't need to be a unit.
It's the fucking the
Zack
Snyder curse. Fucking hell.
Because I agree. Like, but then again, like I was thinking about this when you mentioned they weren't in formation during the film. I was like, look, I don't know how you get Deadshot and Harley Quinn and Killer Croc
Boomerang Man into an effective formation.
Because the only formation that would ever be properly adopted would be by the Marines. And then they were using cars and stuff, they were acting like soldiers, but the rest of them, like you said, just sort of like stood and fired.
But this is the thing, it's like, I'm all for suspending my disbelief, but the whole movie stood to prove the fact that this set of people were not a good team for this or any other task. Like, there is literally nothing other than, like, the Suicide Squad Olympics, where there's some shooting, there's some, like, jailbait baseball bat dancing, there's some being a crocodile event.
I'll tell you what they do in the comic books. So the Suicide Squad in the comic books is actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it always has, like, a sort of a shifting membership. It doesn't always contain the people that you've seen here.
Okay.
But it often does. Like, some of them are some mainstays, like Deadshot's often drafted into it, Harley Quinn on occasion. Killer Croc, not so much. Normally a guy called King Shark, who I really enjoy, who I hope is in the Aquaman film, but I will not find out.
No, we won't find out because we're boycotting the Aquaman film.
But so in the Suicide Squad comics that I've read, at least, what they're normally used for is like black ops operations, when no one else is willing to do them. It often requires like killing innocents, requires killing children. Again, stuff they're actually willing to do. Stuff there. It requires like being covert. So again, this is where people like sort of Harley Quinn come into their own, because they can break into places. They normally offer them stuff again, which they don't in this film. There's no reason for any of them to do this.
Yeah, the members of the Suicide Squad, just to quickly say, were consistently trying to say what their demands were to endear them, and they were just like, no, we're not going to listen to any of them. And for this reason, they slouched through the film like sulky teenagers, as you would, because they had no motivation to do what they were being told.
Yeah, and it's such a easy to solve problem. Like, all you have to do is say, like, when he's up for that list of the man, they say, yeah, sure.
We'll give you 3 of those 6 things.
Your kids will have a great life. And again, it's just such a needless conflict to have during the film. And yeah, it just really, every time they don't run away, like, there's a scene where the phone breaks. It's like, why have they not all run away?
Okay, yeah, no, this was one of the movies where the film untied its own tension so unforgivably. Harley Quinn was running to jump into the Joker's helicopter. Viola Davis was like, fuck it, I'm going to press this phone that she'd been holding precariously throughout the whole film to like blow her Battle Royale necklace.
Thumb dangerously close to the death panel.
She's pressing it and it just stops working, and it's like, well, why? Why in this situation does it stop? The one time where you actually went to use it, it doesn't work. Like,
short of when they killed Slipknot.
This can't, great. Like, this can't have been something that David Ayer wrote in a script. Like, I know he wrote Bright, and that's supposed to suck, but this is too stupid. Like,
I imagine what happened, I'd like to think, is, so that scene comes right after the comms tower is destroyed. Viola Davis. His comm tower is destroyed, and I'd like to think that maybe in the original cut that was the reason that the phone doesn't work.
It's
because there's no receptor. It would make sense. Like,
that's fine.
All you'd have to say is for her to say the comms are, the tower's down or something. Like, it would work. But that would again make her look like an idiot in this film because she executes her staff. So back to what I was saying. So the Suicide Squad, I think and again, you could have easily had them do this, and I think that would have made it a more interesting film if they were. There's like a bunch of like Tin Pot dictatorships in the DC universe you can go into. There's a bunch of like, there's like Lex Luthor and like evil billionaires walking around. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that the government could feasibly want. There's secret nuclear plans in Iran you could make them go and get. Though apparently Enchantress can get those at will.
Very easily.
That's what I mean. Like, there are so many things that you could, and then you don't need Enchantress, and you don't really even need Diablo. Like, you don't need superhumans. Like, the goal no longer would become, we need a squad to stop Superman. It would be more like, we need a squad who's willing to do the shit that we, that even the CIA is not willing to do.
Yeah, and also just that the state has an interest in happening, because you can bribe them in a way that you can't bribe the Batman or Superman.
As is detailed at the end, where Viola Davis does try to pressure the Batman.
Fuck, man. And it feels as well, like, the way that you're describing it in the comics, it feels like a gap that's naturally opened by the sort of ecosystem of the DC universe. Like, so much shit is going on, and all of these characters so often going in and out of prison and mental asylums, and they're so, again, like, easily swayed and corruptible that it just follows that they would, they would have fickle allegiance, and people would take advantage of that. I mean, the government always eventually gets involved when the law moves on far enough. I mean, I don't know loads about these things, but, I've read fucking The Dark Knight Returns, and that's all about that.
If you are the US government in the DC Comics universe, and you do have a bunch of sort of like superhero-powered states that you're concerned about, like there's a couple then you're gonna want to infiltrate them, and you're gonna want to do that with people who aren't just military men. And so it kind of works out. And again, that sort of that justifies people like Killer Croc, like he can swim really fast.
Yeah,
that has its uses for infiltration. At least he doesn't just get to like. I think you see
going
him
up a river in South America. Yeah, like that's fine.
You see him in like 2 fight scenes in this, and he's like fucking just like choke slamming people and like doing wrestling moves on them. But everyone else, like even the Marines, are killing more people than him.
I mean, this actually leads me fairly comfortably into a point that I wanted to make. So you've explained why the Suicide Squad makes sense when their actual purpose is made clear. However, in this film, the plot falls in on itself because Viola Davis, what's her name? What's her character?
Amanda Waller.
Amanda
Waller, interestingly enough, is also in the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern film.
Oh God, really?
They attempted to put her as like one of the main, if I remember, like one of the main bad guys. Like she's sort of like, again, she wants to harness the Green Lantern power. She's always like a self-serving bureaucrat. She always wants to harness like whatever superpowers going on for like the government.
Yeah. And
she tries to, because Ryan Reynolds is Hal Jordan's a pilot, she tries to like coerce him.
Okay.
But that obviously got canned, and now it's Viola Davis. Though probably will never be again.
Yeah.
Unless James Gunn wants her back, I guess.
Yeah, I guess if he's really, I hope not though.
Yeah.
I don't think she did great. It's probably not her fault. In this movie, she assembles the Suicide Squad for the government for 2 reasons. She said it's in case there's another Superman, or like they need to avert nuclear war. She says another really dumb thing.
Let me think.
It's when they're in the boardroom and she gets out not the Scarlet Witch.
The Enchantress.
The Enchantress, thank you. Well, anyway, so she's got them. They're going to be like a multi-purpose, but broadly with the intention of stopping Superman. They're not even good for that, but because of the way this film has been hacked to pieces in the edit, and like they've changed the villain, the Enchantress ends up being the villain of the film. And the way that she does this is she has a secret second voodoo doll, which is just, they show it like on a shelf in her apartment, where the Enchantress takes over, and then she just pulls off the lid of that one, which releases her brother's spirit, which she then like apparates into a fucking subway station and puts it in, a guy, and then says, okay, you're my brother now, and we're going to take over the world. So in her assembly of these people, who she claims to be able to control, but fails to do so all the way through, she almost brings about the end of the world, and her own death, because she's stuck in
HVT 1, because it's high value target 1. I realised halfway through we've been saying it wrong.
There you go.
But that's what it means. But yeah, she like, and again, in a lazy attempt to make her seem way cleverer than she acts, they have her say that she intentionally set up Rick Flag to fall in love with the Enchantress, to give them both a reason to be easily controlled by one another, she said, and therefore herself.
Yeah, she said that she had the Enchantress's heart, because she literally had her heart, her like demon heart, but then she wanted to have his through proxy of her, which is so stupid. And she doesn't try and have this much control over any of the other characters.
She also says that to a government agent, and I was like, shit, that's a frank admission of your duplicity. Because I thought the idea was it's sort of like because she's always willing to do the stuff that like other operatives aren't. But the idea is that she's never supposed to tell anyone, but she's pretty open about how horrible she is in this. I wonder if they cleared her to execute, what was it, like 7 civilians?
Yeah, no, she's really on the nose with how evil she... Like, I wouldn't trust her to do anything. I really just want to drop this in here as well. So, she says that she has the Enchantress's heart, which is like a physical prop in the film. When the Enchantress first escapes and does that shit with her brother, she's like, well, I gotta do this now. So she goes and stabs up the heart with, like, a pencil or something, and you see, like, the green light flooding out of it. This has no effect on the plot at all. This has no long-term...
It just makes her go like, ah.
Yeah, and then she says she needs to share the power of her brother, so it doesn't matter. In them doing that, they kind of establish that stabbing the heart does nothing, but then later, stabbing the heart does become, again, the objective of the plot, which eventually defeats her. Yeah,
because I just realised, we see Viola Davis stab the heart, and then we see Cara Delevingne react to the stabbing, and then the brother channels the energy. But Viola Davis doesn't know that. Does Viola Davis like see the heart stop reacting and stop? Because if so, we don't see that. She just leaves the heart after that. So she must somehow work out that she can't, or not that she can't destroy it, that there's no value to destroying it, but surely you just destroy it anyway at that point. Like, it's a loose end.
I'd be annoyed.
Yeah.
I'd shoot at it.
Yeah, exactly. I would
piss on
throw
it.
In the river.
I'd be furious because it's just evidence of her own incompetence.
Yeah, no, definitely. And she has created a like literally untenable situation where she is now trapped in HVT1, the top of this skyscraper, which also happens to be like her command center.
Yeah.
Which is convenient that she happened to be there, but also inconvenient that it's in this very city that was attacked.
I would actually see the thing is
very contrived.
She does behave, throughout the film, especially even after things kick off. Obviously, in her own self-interest, she wants to preserve herself. It's just about simple self-preservation. However, I say this only because if I set in action a chain of events that led to this much fuckery that I was the victim of, I would be so crippled by shame and embarrassment that I would not be doing some Machiavellian shit like tricking the Suicide Squad into coming in and saving. I would just be going, I'm an idiot. I'd be like FaceTiming the president, like, listen, I'm fucking shit at this. Never trust me again.
I've decided to fire myself.
Yeah, save me, please. But this was really dumb. I had this cartoon heart.
She doesn't even learn. So if we track Viola Davis's character, so she goes from recruiting them at the prison, she then disappears until we find her again in the office. She walks from the office to a helicopter, of which is immediately blown up, and she lands like in the lap of the bad people. And then she disappears until the end, once they've killed the Enchantress and her brother, and she walks around the corner with the mobile phone in her hand. I don't know how she gets there. I don't know why she's not dead. I guess she was just in like a holding cell or something. But again, not really addressed. But then, so from there, so she's dead. But from that moment, like, despite the inordinate luck she's had in this, she's immediately like, you're all going back to prison.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like, cash your fucking chips in. Again, like, I'd just be like, look, just don't kill me and you can have what you want. I can't believe I'm alive. Like, I'm going to go back to church. This is a blessing from God. But no, and they're like,
miracle.
Like, we just saved the world. Can we have some stuff? And she's like, oh, maybe you can have, like, one thing. It's like, she says herself earlier in the movie, or rather has a goon say, it's like, you have no negotiating capacity here. It's like, fuck you. You don't have any negotiating capacity here. I think they can get a phone off you. Why does Deadshot not just shoot the phone in such a way that it falls out of her hand?
Yeah, I mean, any of them.
He can do it.
Yeah.
Like, he never misses.
We've seen him do it. We've seen Captain Boomerang land a perfect boomerang. We can,
yeah.
That'd be a nice moment. The whole thing falls apart because they're not willing to do... The whole premise is that she's wanting to get these people on side, but she's not willing to do anything except, like, torture them and berate them to get them on side. Like, she rejects every possible deal they offer. She doesn't seem to actually value them. Her guards are all horrible and just sort of like the introduction, and again, I think this is really a test to the opening. The opening of this film is you're introduced to two characters, but you're introduced to two of them being tortured by a character called Griggs.
Yeah.
One of them being like beaten up for very simply rising to a jab, and then just bloody like electroshock therapy selfies with Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Which is just the most like... She got fucking ball gag in her mouth of all things. It's just fucking ridiculous.
Incidentally, they then smash cut to the title of the film, and what they've done there is they've set up an expectation that they're going to introduce all the characters in the squad, and then they show you the logo like they have, and then the movie.
But you're like, did I fall asleep?
Where's the rest of them? Which get introduced piecemeal later on, to the point where it's almost like they forgot, because the Japanese lady with the sword, she just jumps on the plane partway through, and they're like, oh yeah, there's her as well.
Yeah, that's Katana.
Is she actually called Katana?
Yeah, her name's Katana.
I'm going to break this computer.
Katana actually might be appearing in another DC film soon. So you remember I told you there's going to be a Birds of Prey film?
Oh yeah.
Katana is a famous member of the Birds of Prey. So,
can't wait for that.
I wonder if they'll get the same actress in again. Who cares?
I mean, would she be able to get over the shame of being in another one, or playing the role again? Or would she be bringing Dishonoru on her Famaru? I think I might leave that in. Massive
Dishonoru. Yeah, again, like, so she's introduced really late. Again, my favourite character in the film, Slipknot. is introduced very late
Oh
into
yeah,
the film.
Slipknot, whose
This-
his power is he can climb anything, and I got this right, didn't I?
Yes.
He had like a hook shot that could let him do that.
Yeah, he had a hook shot, and so he's in.
So that's just a piece of technology.
So his presence in the film is 3 scenes long, as far as I'm aware. It might even be 2, depending on how
I'd already forgotten about him.
how you consider it. Is he gets out of the car and immediately punches a woman in the face, and he is then he is scot-free. He is then flown on the plane with the rest of them in the Chinook that crashes, and he says one line in that. And then he is duped by Captain Boomerang into trying to escape, presumably so Captain Boomerang can use him as like a proof of concept for whether the exploding collars work.
It's so obvious as well. Like he sort of like just sidles up to him and starts talking about how it's all bullshit that they have the bombs in their neck, and it's like, I think you're being duped.
Yeah. And then Captain Boomerang like elbows someone in the face, and Slipknot takes that as his chance to climb anything. So he starts climbing something, immediately is killed by Rick Flag.
Yeah.
And then flumps down lifeless.
Yeah, he also comically smashes into the window pane, just to add insult to injury.
There were actually Slipknot fans of Slipknot in the comics, who were very annoyed by that portrayal.
I would be fucking annoyed as well if I'd spent like all of my pocket money my entire young life on a fucking comic, and then I just saw that happen.
I love that. I love those scenes. I think that is one of the laziest. Again, I don't think it was probably much better in the David Ayer cut, but I imagine he was at least introduced as part of like the set. I imagine that. I don't think he was just dropped in at that stage, because it just makes I know we have varying faiths in David Ayer, but I just don't think that it was just such a stupid way to. It's just not the way you introduce a character.
No.
Full stop. He didn't get his little like neon flashy sign that they all got.
Yeah.
Indicating their.
Yeah. Like, again, with the consistency, it's like you have set up an expectation for the audience that when a character of the Suicide Squad is introduced, they will get their own little fucking hacky Guy Ritchie explanation of their character on the screen, which incidentally, it moved too fast for you to read, which at first I thought was a funny joke, but then later you were explaining that really important information was in those character descriptions.
A couple of things that, and again, I had to go back and like pause and look at these on YouTube videos because I have too much free time. But a couple of really key points of information. So one is that the brother of Enchantress is first revealed in those flashcards. Then you've got the pink unicorn of Jay Courtney.
There you go.
You've got the...
Which they set up and don't utilise in the way that they should.
And what's the third one? There is another important one. I can't
Jesus,
remember.
I can't remember it. But it's just, with the setups and payoffs, it's just all setups, and then it's almost like they spoofed me with the lack of payoffs. It's
I imagine the lack of, the payoffs were all in the other 900 hours, 290 hours of footage we didn't see.
Yeah, like the finish, because obviously I get that, so David Ayer writes and directs a movie, shoots shitloads of footage, and then a trailer is really popular, so a bunch of people who just did way too much cocaine, like about 5 seconds before, decided that they should edit the movie. But the finished product is like scene to scene. They would shoot something and then they were playing Chinese whispers with about 100 people leading to the next scene, and then the 100th person would be like, okay, I'm directing the next scene, I know what they said was supposed to happen next.
Yeah.
And then that goes on and on until you reach the end.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Definitely.
Never boring, by the way.
Never.
I must give this movie a compliment. I was fucking killing it the whole way through.
I think that's why I'd recommend it to nearly anyone. I think that it's such incomparable. I can't think of another film quite like it. Because the thing is, it's trying to be what makes it particularly unique for me. We've seen garbage films, incomprehensible messes before.
Yeah.
But it's the way it tries to weave like this continuity stuff in it. Like I was saying earlier, you got the Flash in here. You got pictures of Khal Drogo as Aquaman. You got, obviously you got references and like actual scenes from Man of Steel and from Batman vs Superman, and you've got 4, including the post-credits trailer. You've got 4 Batman appearances.
That's right. His appearance only serves to confuse you as to why he wasn't more involved in this apocalyptic, situation, because he is a superhero and he was there. But I guess he was just having a night off.
Or Jeremy Irons as Alfred, who's got control of like the Batwing, that could probably have saved the day multiple times. Or the Flash, who can move at the speed of light. And
I think the Flash probably could have beaten that god.
Definitely. Or even Khal Drogo.
Yeah.
Or Wonder Woman. She's there by any of them. There's like so many more fitting people to have solved this problem.
You were saying the way that it weaves in the continuity and stuff.
It's just that's part of what makes it, in my opinion, so like almost like a real like a high parody of where we've come in terms of like films and their continuity. Like I don't think it gets much more like labyrinthine and stupid than this. Like, even in the other films, like, even, I don't think Batman vs Superman, maybe Justice League, just because it's like a get-together one.
Yeah.
But even that sort of like is wearing on his chest because it is different characters you've seen together.
Yeah.
I think this one does it in sort of like the most half-hearted way. It's like, yeah, Batman's in 2 flashbacks, 1 dream sequence, and a post-credit sequence.
That's what they wanted, right?
It's like, oh, that's good. So he's not actually part of the film.
No.
He's not part of the story. He's not part of the plot. No. He just 2 backgrounds, one daydream, 1 post-credit scene.
Like absolutely everything, it only serves to muddy the water more. Like the inclusion, it just makes it suffer.
But that's the thing, like you said, with nearly everything that collides, it's like watching it's like do you remember in Final Destination 2, I think, where each of the logs fall off?
I love that.
And like collides through. Scene. I feel like, each of those logs is like a poor decision from Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And like together they make a beautiful cacophony of just insane shit.
Absolutely.
No one of them can be deemed to be either like connected or a good idea, or even even remotely well done. But they are.
But watching that car pilot, mate, I was just exactly.
It's somehow innately watchable.
Yeah, this movie was so good. Entertaining me is the wrong word, but like engaging me with its just fucking madness.
And I guess that's what happens when you get a trailer park to cut it.
Yeah.
I guess that is what they have to do, right?
They're good. Yeah, they're good at something.
They're good at holding your attention. But to be fair, like they must be masters of their craft if they can hold your attention with basically nothing for 2 hours.
Well, it was only right at the end when they were fucking standing in front of like alien god Cara Delevingne that I just turned to you and I was like, what's her goal again? Because she said at the beginning, she was like, oh, they used to think we were gods, but now we got to take them over because now they worship machines.
We will make a machine, she says.
But yeah, she seemed to just be... I mean, why she didn't do this in an earlier point of history when she was in power, because she was just turning people through snogging into her minions and then making everything turn dark.
And she was doing that.
Yeah, she was doing that.
And then she was boring a hole in the ground like in Man of Steel.
Yeah. And she was also giving a pep talk to every one of them she converted to like her evil army. She was just like, you serve me now, by the way. Just in case they were confused.
She was a real hands-on leader. She must have been reading some sort of like corporate management scheme material.
Yeah.
Get to know your employees. Get to know your mindless putty monsters.
It's like something from like a Stalinist propaganda film. It's like Stalin shakes the hand of every soldier in the Red Army. Loads their gun for them.
So again, another juicy bit of behind-the-scenes... stuff from David Ayer is that those putty monsters were originally the bad guys from the Justice League.
Yeah.
Which are these things called parademons.
This dropped recently.
Yeah.
This was the final piece of the puzzle in this clusterfuck.
Yeah. Well, like he said, he said you're more likely to get the Ayer cut. I would love the Ayer cut.
I would absolutely.
I tell you what, I would probably buy the Ayer cut out of sheer professional curiosity.
No, I'd pay for it. I'd crawl over glass for the Ayer cut, mate, because this man...
More than the Schneider cut, like, I'm not sure I really
care. I don't care about that at all. Like, it's just going to be a darker version of a shit movie.
Yeah. Well, as we said, I know I don't like to throw this out, but I don't think I've said it on microphone. Yeah. I do love that Zack Snyder wants to see Batman raped. I think that's one of the things we often no one brings that up anymore because he said it once in 2008 and it's never been. We're
gonna hash this out properly so it's very clear. So Aaron, being the fucking internet detective that he is, has found and verified the source of the interview where he said that it was the Dark Knight was edgy, but personally, if Zack was doing the Dark Knight, he'd go further. He'd have him like in prison and get prison raped.
Yeah. So he's talking in the context of 2008. The Dark Knight's just come out. It's doing really well. He's clearly a bit jealous because I think he really thinks he gets Batman. Yeah. And I think Josh will agree with me that he doesn't.
No, certainly not.
In any capacity, understand Batman.
He doesn't understand anything.
No.
It's a miracle that he makes his way out of his house. It's a miracle that he made Watchmen because I really like that movie and I have no respect for Zack Snyder.
I think it was more luck than judgment.
Yeah.
He's talking to the interview. He's getting a bit het up, and at one point he says, like. People want to see dark. People think the Dark Knight's dark. He's like, my version of Batman will be dark. It's like talking to like a 13-year-old.
Yeah, who's just one-upping you on everything. He's like, you think that's dark? I'll show you dark.
Batman's going to get raped. I was like, I would show Batman being raped in prison. It's like, okay.
Pulls his pants down and starts taking a shit.
It's like, how's that going to... Like, so, instantly your Batman film is an 18.
Yeah.
Like, your Batman film can't be watched by children.
It will be torn apart by, the socially conscious.
How does Batman, like, come back from that? Like, what's the scene?
Is it one of the villains?
Is it like when Bane breaks his back?
Is he
there just...
Is it what makes him the Batman? Do they shoot his parents and then rape Bruce Wayne?
Because I'm all for, like, the, not the normalisation, but sort of, like, the destigmatising of male rape. But I don't think
Yeah.
this is the way you do it.
Yeah,
Because even if like they handled it in the most like tasteful way possible, it would still just be really dumb.
Yeah.
Because what is he wearing the bat suit? Is it Bruce Wayne?
Because if he is wearing the bat
'Cause
suit,
he's-
that also means they have to like disassemble the bat ass part of the suit, which may take some. He may even have to ask Batman. He'll be like, "Listen, I'm gonna do this. Tell me how. Is it here? Do I fasten off the panel? Oh, it's this button here.
Is it implied
Shoots
or
off.
is it shown?
No, let's forget woman.
Is it? is he has to be wearing the bat suit because otherwise he's Bruce Wayne. And he specifically said it's Batman.
Aaron, imagine everything we just
Wearing the bat suit.
everything we just said, but it also happens on a pinball machine, like in Thelma and Louise.
Oh my god! I want to talk to him. I know,
Yeah.
like I know he's going through some stuff right now, but I just want to. I want to know what he had in mind because I bet he had a script like in his head for that.
Oh yeah. He
He
went
had-
home and he started writing that in his moleskin.
Oh, I bet that's the film that became Batman vs Superman. They had to talk him down so much.
Just you got to get rid of this. But it's the whole second act. I don't know how you made it last for this long, Zack.
There were 20 drafts of Batman vs Superman. It only dropped about like draft 12 after Ben Affleck said I'm not being raped.
he showed up on set, and Zack kept trying to trick him into scenes where that's what's going on. It's just like, why is the Joker standing behind me in this scene? Why do you want me to look really, really uncomfortable?
That's actually that's something we should talk about. So, the Joker's scenes in this again are nearly, I'd say, I wouldn't think it would be wrong to say that 70% of the Joker scenes are flashbacks.
Yeah.
Or like what we would call like non-plot related material.
That's right.
And some of them are actually pretty not good. I would never call them good, but some of them are actually fairly interesting. Like you've got one where they're dancing in a very iconic pose from one of the comics where she's in her old Harley Quinn, like from the cartoons.
Yeah. They
Not
bust
sort of
out
like this
once.
not like this sort of like new hot pants.
It's you know what? Its inclusion, the inclusion of the original costume annoyed me because it served only to remind me that they had kind of listen. I get it's just a comic, and I know it's like the Joker and Harley Quinn, but there's just the way that they'd like pornographied.
Yeah.
I don't know what the word for that it would be.
Objectified, sexualized.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, she was already like. Well, again, in like I mean, the TAS,
already-
she wasn't really.
Yeah.
No, she was just a female henchman for the Joker. It kind of worked.
Mm.
But yeah, and the problem is like these days, God,
Yes.
oh boy, these days Harley Quinn. No, like just like every representation of her I see now is no longer that like red and black jumpsuit that I quite liked.
Yeah.
She's always wearing fucking hot pants and a fucking ripped t-shirt, and I'm like, this is not.
It's a fucking jack off fodder.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need this.
No, it's 2018.
Yeah, no,
it was
this
2014 at the
This
time.
isn't
whatever it was.
1972. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not in Taxi Driver. I'm not about to start masturbating in the theatre. Please don't do this.
Yeah, and you know what's not even more annoying, but what's pretty annoying and probably slightly insensitive is that they show her picking up her black and red costume
Yeah.
in the box of stuff that they bring each other.
Oh, yeah.
She just drops it back in. She's like, no, that's not nearly.
Oh, I don't want that anymore.
That covers my entire body. That can't be useful in a combat situation.
The teenagers are all going to ask for their money back.
Oh, God. But yeah, so the Joker scenes, again, Jared Leto famously annoyed at this film for
Yeah.
cutting out what he deemed to be 80% of the stuff that he filmed.
Yeah.
I assume he thought 80% of the stuff he thought was going to be in the film,
Yeah.
rather than 80% of the stuff he filmed, which would obviously be like 100 hours, I
Yeah.
guess. But...
The Leto cut. 100 hours of the Joker.
kill me. I would watch it all as well.
Oh, man.
I would spend hours
We'd
of
have
my
to
life.
break that up over several weeks, but we'd do it.
I'd have to get a catheter fitted so I could just keep watching.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
So yeah, he's famously annoyed that he believes that, and again I understand it. The same reason David Ayer is annoyed. Like if you think you've done a good job and then what you watch in the cinema is just some of your worst scenes, including a scene you did with Common,
Oh, man.
then yeah, I kind of get it. Like I'd be annoyed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have to refer back to our Don't Be a Menace review where you said that, you know, having your name attributed to the scary movie films when you weren't involved in them would be like slander. And when this movie ended, I said to you that, you know, it says written and directed by David Ayer. I don't know how he didn't just go and kill
Yeah,
the producers.
neither of those are true. I guess what he must have done is he must have looked at his contract and said like, we will use your name however we see fit.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha.
And then hung himself?
I mean, then he did Bright. I guess he was so grief-stricken.
Yeah. I'm
Did
genuinely
this film
impressed.
kill David Ayer?
Yeah, I mean, has he been replaced by like Paul McCartney?
Oh god, he's actually a woman.
I could buy it, mate, because I genuinely don't. I'm so fascinated by his weird arc as a filmmaker. Like, he just made 2 really good, really interesting movies, and then fell off so hard.
And 2 terrible Will Smith projects. Maybe we should keep him away from Will Smith.
Yeah, man, we need to can Will Smith. Like, he's been, you know, flirting with Scientology. He hasn't been in good movies for ages.
After Earth, Bright, this.
Yeah.
What we got? What else we got? What else has been recent? Is that it? Or?
I think moving back, the most recent one I can think of that's not them is 2007's I Am Legend.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's how bad this has got. How incompetent! He's making too much money for himself and his management because they don't have to pick good projects for him.
No.
£7.
And they don't have to try. Yeah, £7 and Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah, all of this was just nuts.
So obviously the other big news that happened regarding Suicide Squad is that Suicide Squad 2 is, for better or for worse, as marriage vows would go.
Should we round off with this information?
Yeah, I think so.
Setting up for the
Unless you have any parting words on Suicide Squad as a film?
I might watch it again, and I never watch movies again.
No, I rarely do as well. And that's the thing, I actually wanted to watch the film again.
It's like documenting a crime against humanity. It's just something that's got to be done.
It is, yeah. Again, I don't feel like, much like the film itself didn't do justice to the source material, I don't think we will ever do justice to it.
No.
In regards to capturing its insanity. It just needs to be, if for whatever reason you haven't seen this film in 2018,
you just have to watch it, yeah.
It has to be seen to be believed.
Yeah.
And not even in a good way.
I didn't understand. So what we were going to do for this is we were going to do new movies and then kind of like obscure, silly ones. But Aaron was like, we're going to do Suicide Squad, which is a movie I understand everyone saw and got reviewed into the fucking dust online. Now I know why he picked it, because I just understand the world better now, because I know that this is a part of it.
You just gotta trust. I don't know. Yeah, it was like it just made sense. I was just like, this film needs to be seen again. The thing is, it's only gotten weirder. Like I think as it's aged, because like at least back then, like I was in sort of like the labyrinth rat run where the DCEU might not have been an unequivocal failure.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, like with knowing how
benefit of hindsight.
Now that knowing like Ben Affleck's not going to be in it again, like Henry Cavill's not likely to be in it again. The only person who seems to be staying on from these films, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is probably Margot Robbie and Will Smith. Like it's all the more obscene and insane for it. Like not only is Jared Leto might be getting his own movie, they're making a second Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. Like none of that knowledge was known, and it just makes this film even weirder and makes it have even less of a place.
I met a traveller from an antique land.
But yeah, those are my closing thoughts on Suicide Squad.
Yeah, the only other thing I have to add to that is you mentioned how it's only gotten weirder with age. This movie had some of the worst special effects I can remember seeing in a movie ever. There was a scene where Viola Davis was just like, you got to see this security footage, and then they cut to what looked like I'll admit, it wasn't like it was like in-game footage, but
it was like a PS2, a PS3 game or PS3.
Yeah, PS2, PS3 cinematic of a guy just setting a bunch of people on fire, and it was laughable.
But they don't really, they don't move like, exactly. They don't move them that far. They all like do like two little like and then they fall over.
Yeah, they wave like one arm, then the other, then they fall down like
a rough approximation. Like if an alien was like, what's it like to be on fire on Earth? He might be like, they go like this, and they go like this. And
well, this is the character animation. It takes 2/3 of their hit points and then they're dead. So leading into the strangest way you could continue this incredibly strange saga that is Suicide Squad is that Suicide Squad 2 now has a director in talks, and that's James Gunn, who directed the 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Director and writer, because obviously James Gunn doesn't. I don't think he ever has directed something he hasn't written.
No, he doesn't fuck about.
So, and that's great, because I don't know how much James Gunn likes comics. I probably should at this point. I have a feeling he does, because even before he was doing any of this stuff, he did things like Super, which obviously was very jokey about comics. And further than that, I don't know what his familiarity is with the DC universe. But if he does know Suicide Squad, which I don't think David Ayer did, then that's great, because I think he will write something that could be quite interesting. But the problem obviously is so Margot Robbie's like the golden girl of the DC universe now, who's not Israeli.
That's ridiculous, by the way. I find that to be almost completely unearned.
Same. I mean, I think it's just because she was memorable more than good.
Yes.
Like people always, the same reason they did in TAS.
Yeah.
People love Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Like, just and even when she's just wearing blue and red hot pants, apparently they love Harley Quinn. Maybe even more so when she's just doing that. I don't know.
So disappointing.
And so she's got her name attached to at least 4 separate DC projects right now, including Suicide Squad 2. I mean, for me, and I assume you're the same, I want to see Jay Courtney back as Captain Boomerang.
Oh, I can't wait. I'd watch him in any movie.
I'd watch the Captain Boomerang movie, frankly. I don't know what he'd do. He'd probably rob banks.
I'd watch him in a completely unrelated movie. I'd watch Annie Hall, the Captain Boomerang cut. I can watch the shit out of that.
Hell yeah. Just cut him into history's greatest. But, so I mean, but the problem is, again, so you've got James Gunn, who's got a radically different, and if I may say, better style than any of the DC films that have gone on so far.
I think no one's going to hound you for that.
Bar save Wonder Woman, maybe.
Yeah.
And so let's say, for argument's sake, you bring back what we deem to be the 3 most notable, I won't say best, most notable ones, which I would say would be Will Smith, Margot Robbie, Jay Courtney, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang.
Yep.
So that works well enough, but then you can probably just about level those guys tonally consistently. Yeah. Diablo's dead, so thankfully we don't need to bother with him. We don't need to bother with Slipknot.
No.
We don't need to bother with...
We hardly knew you.
we don't need to bother really with Killer Croc. I think we can ditch him.
Yeah, he can just swim away.
Katana, again, not really necessary.
Yeah.
So you can kind of fill out the squad from there, and I guess you sort of, without parodying from Guardians of the Galaxy too much, I think you basically run it through again, but with them disliking each other initially, being in a shit situation, realising they've got to work together, appreciating each other as human beings, beating the day, and getting some sort of reward for it.
Yeah.
Like, sort of like, a-holes turned... You know, again, like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, they're scum, they eventually save Nova. It works.
Works great.
Yeah. It's so easy, it basically writes itself. And I can't believe Disney was stupid enough to fire him when they were in the midst of making another one of these.
Of the most popular Marvel movies that didn't have a really, really recognisable name. Do you know what I mean? Attached to it, like, ever? Like, no one knew what Guardians of the Galaxy was before that movie, and everyone and their mum went to see it. Like, it was the runaway, like, punk rock hit of the decade. Yeah,
massively. I mean, Up until then, like, Guardians of the Galaxy was, like, the trump card I kept up my sleeve if I wanted, like, a dumbass comic, because it's got a raccoon in it who likes guns.
Yeah.
And that's stupid. And then suddenly it was the biggest entertainment franchise ever, and I felt like I'd kind of had my sleeves whisked away.
It's a funny old world, isn't it?
It's a weird one. You can never tell. But yeah, again, like, I think the single is probably, sadly, the single most promising thing to come out of the DC universe since Ben Affleck got cast as Batman, which obviously didn't turn out well at all.
Yeah.
But could have. And so yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how you reconcile, like, what might be a really competent, funny film with the rest of the DCEU as it stands. I don't know if they're cancelling it. Because again, the Guardians of the Galaxy films never quite gelled with the Marvel Cinematic Universe for me. Like, they always felt very distinct. They felt like the only ones that were ever given any, like, real creative freedom.
Well, that's what I think we all found so relieving about them, is that they came along at a point where I think we needed a break from the building up of sequel to sequel, and it said, well, right, this may be happening at the same time, but it's also happening in space.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it just really, and again, but you can't do that with Suicide Squad, because again, like, it's so linked. Like, you've got one of Batman's main villains, 2 of Batman's main villains, and one of Flash's main villains, all of which who are registered forces within this world, who supposedly are all, you know, now a big Justice League. And so you can't really divorce it as much as you could Guardians of the Galaxy. They're not on the other side of the, you know, the cosmos. They don't know that they don't exist. They very much know they still exist.
They're on the same landmass.
Exactly. Which might be more of an argument for my whole Black Ops stealth thing. I think that might be more of a, you know, you sort of like, drop them off in the middle of Africa or South America. To
do. I mean, they can't do the same thing that they did this time.
They've got to be low-key.
There's already no reason in this film that Batman alone wasn't involved or the Flash alone wasn't involved.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that during that final climax he didn't just zip in the background and be like, who the fuck are you guys? You don't know what you're doing.
Also made more funny, obviously, by their presence in the actual film. It's not like we could even say, oh, well, they weren't, you know, they were... We know they reminded us in this film that they're here.
Yeah, again, the inclusion served only to baffle me more.
Yeah.
This movie was just like being slapped around for a while.
It's like, you know, it's like layers within layers, circles within circles, but the circles are all terrible.
A wheel within a wheel.
It's like the impossible object of a film. Every angle that you look at it, it becomes more impenetrable.
Kaleidoscope of bullshit.
I'm definitely going to watch the second one.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I guess we'll end this with, in the future, Josh has agreed that he's now going to watch more DCEU films.
Yeah, that's right. I'm actually going to... This was so daft about... it's difficult to tell, but about 20-30 minutes into it, I just turned to Aaron and said I will watch Batman vs Superman, because if it's half as ridiculous, I will actually be entertained by that.
I say it's about directly half as ridiculous and twice as confused. So we've got a real treat to look forward to.
Fucking great.
But we'll try and watch some good movies in between now and then.
Yeah, we'll pick up some good ones. All right.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.